Jesus leaves the mountain, the sermon today, we call it the Sermon on the Mount that he just did. And then we see over the next 3 chapters, we see the power that he has. Power played out in a compassionate way. He heals those that have leprosy. The centurion's servant is healed. Peter's mother-in-law. There's those that are demon-possessed. The paralytic. The woman that had been bleeding for 12 years. The girl that was dead. The blind, the mute. And then he sent his apostles out with instructions to do the same. We know of these healings. We know of the power. But I want to take a little different perspective in this one today. What if you were the parents of that girl that was dead? She's lying there dead. I can't imagine the tremendous hurt, the tremendous feelings they had. And Jesus comes along and he gives her back to them. The joy they must have felt, just a tremendous joy as the daughter that was dead. Now I have back. How about if your sister was the one that had been bleeding for 12 years? Talk about quarantine. If you had a blood flow, then you were considered unclean. You could not be at functions. You had to stay away. And if someone was near you, then they became unclean for a time period. For 12 years, this had gone on. Your sister had been separated. And Jesus comes along and he heals her. He brings her back to you. What if your dad was mute? Yes, he could gesture, he could draw, he could maybe write to communicate with you, but you could never hear him speak. All of a sudden, he speaks to you. Or the brother that had never heard the sweet tones of your voice. See, Jesus not only healed, Jesus not only took care of, he brought life and joy back into lives. Jesus is in Jerusalem. And he could have gone up to the buildings and just leveled them. He had the power to. He could have taken the trees and just thrown them here or there. But he didn't. The Roman army was there. He could have stepped up and just paralyzed them where they could not move, where they could fall down as dead. He could have gone and stood before Pilate and shut Pilate's mouth so he could not speak. But he didn't. He had the power to do all of this. But what did he do with the power? He touched lives. As humans, we see power as strength, as wealth, as who has the most followers on social media. We want the big splash. Jesus could have had that. He could have had the big splash. That was what he expected. Most people expected him to come in just like that, but he didn't. He came in with compassion. Jesus had the power, but that wasn't his purpose. His purpose wasn't to have the big splash. His purpose was to usher in the kingdom. And that was through people, by touching people. And in the midst of all of this, he heals a tax collector. How? Well, as a tax collector, you were kind of ostracized. He brought him back into the fold by asking Matthew to come and be part of his group. When he sends out the 12, I told you he sends them out with the same things he had. I want to read the instructions he gives them here. When he sends them out in Matthew chapter 10, I want to read verses 5 through 10. These 12 Jesus sent out with the following instructions. Do not go among the Gentiles or enter the town of the Samaritans. Go rather to the lost sheep of Israel. As you go, proclaim this message. The kingdom of heaven has come near. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse those who have leprosy, drive out demons. Freely you have received, freely give. He sent them out to care. Why? Because the kingdom was coming. And we're going to talk more about that next time. But right now I want you to focus on the power Jesus had. The power to care. The power not to control, but to take care of people. This week, look around. How can you care for people? How can we care for people? And let's do it. As we explore God's Word each week, let's put it into action. Stay safe.